Hey everybody, this is Zach Dittmars, Fish Talk Magazine. Thanks again for tuning in for another edition of Live with Lenny. Tonight we'll be discussing 3 cool mid-Atlantic fishing adventures for July. Whether you fish Maryland waters, you live in Virginia, or you're located by the coast, one thing is for sure, you will not spend much time this July targeting rockfish. But there are still plenty of cool fishing adventures to be had in the Mid-Atlantic region, so consider these 3 unique experiences if you're looking for a new fishing challenge. Without further ado, I'd like to bring on our angler-in-chief, Mr. Lenny Rudow. Hey, Lenny, how you doing?
Hey, what's happening, Zach?
Yeah, not too much. It's good to be back. It's been about a month. This is I love doing these things. So before we get started, I just want to, thank our sponsor, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do this sort of fun stuff. So tonight is presented by Shimano. And Lenny, correct me if I'm wrong, you have something really cool in your possession from Shimano.
I do. Something brand new.
You're at it.
The new Dakota 800 right there. Look at that. Now, Sharpies who really pay attention might remember that when the Dakota got its first facelift of the entire line, it was the 500, really little one, right? And when it was introduced at ICAST in 2018, it actually won Best Saltwater Reel of the Year at that show. Now, like many tackle companies do, Shimano has been kind of walking the changes throughout the lineup. The 800 is all new for 2022, and this sucker is a whole lot bigger and more potent than the rest of the line. This is level wind reel, so it's going to be perfect for trolling for rockfish. But that extra size, this guy can handle 30 to 50 pound mono or 50 to 80 pound braid. And there are 2 critical things I wanted to mention about this reel. First is the hay game body. This guy is not going to flex. This is an all metal body. Okay. And I'm betting it's going to last forever. And I say that, Zach, can I just mention real quick, long before Shimano became a sponsor for Live with Lenny or a Fish Talk advertiser, I was a Shimano guy. You can't really quite see all the reels behind me. There's a lot of Shimanos back there. And look, I got something special to show you. Ready? Ready for this? Look at that. That's the old white Stratic. Remember these guys?
That's sweet.
This reel, I think they sent this to me in 2011 to test out. And it's like one of my favorites. I use the heck out of it. I've changed the bail roller. That's it. And that's just why I love Shimano. The reels last forever. So I'm betting this guy is going to do that. Oh, look at this. How old is your Shimano? Can you beat 2011?
When you say Shimano's last forever, this is my first fishing reel. This is a Shimano TX110.
Oh, God.
It works like new. It's a beautiful panfish reel. I used to, I grew up perch fishing with this. And now, I have an arsenal of Shimanos myself. Thanks to you. Appreciate it.
I love it. I love it. So it's so awesome that they're partnered with us because we love the stuff. So hey, what's not to like, right? Absolutely. So the other thing about this Dakota 800 that I've got to mention is the newer version Dakotas have the cross carbon drag system. So this little puppy here can put out a whopping 35 pounds of drag. Why do you care? It's a rockfish trolling reel, right? But here's the thing. If you want to use the same reels and go trolling for cobia, this guy can handle it, right? It can absolutely. Look, and here comes Fred. Could that be a good cobia reel? Yes, it could. This guy can handle it. And here's another one for you. And I know some of you guys are going to be like, oh, God, I had that happen. You're going to be nodding your head going, oh, yeah. So picture this. The Spanish mackerel are running. You hear that the number 3 planers are working real well. Number 3 planer is the big guy. He's about that big, right? You clip that on the end of your line. You take your average level winder rockfish reel and set it back, and you close the reel, and you know what's going to happen? What's going to happen? It's going to pull drag. The drag can't handle it. You crank that drag down as far as you can, stick the rod in the holder, and it's still like every time the boat rolls on a wave, you hear geek, 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 because it just can't handle it. This guy is going to be able to handle it. That will not be a problem. Now, if you do hear the clicker, here's one more thing I really like. Listen to this. Ready? That is one seriously loud clicker. So it's not going to go unnoticed. 3.9 to 1 gear ratio. You're retrieving, let me turn that clicker off. You're retrieving 35 inches per crank. Dakota 800. So remember that one, folks. All right.
I have a trivia question for you.
Ooh, what is that?
You mentioned the Hagane body. What does that mean? You know
It's all metal, right?
Hagane is what? What does it mean?
Oh God, is that like an actual like word with meaning?
Yeah.
I don't know. What does it mean?
Hagane is Japanese for steel.
Oh, interesting. That's new to me.
I just learned that recently. I thought that would be interesting to share. All right. Very cool.
Right.
Thanks, Shimano, and keep making great products.
Yeah, man. Should we dig in some fishing adventures? Because I know there are a lot of people out there. They're like, oh man, the rockfish are going to close. They closed in the Potomac already. They've been closed in Virginia. What are we going to do? We got some cool stuff here, right? We do. Thank goodness we live in the Mid-Atlantic region on the Chesapeake Bay, where we got all kinds of cool options. All three we're going to talk about today are very cool adventures. Let's get started. Give me slide number 1. There it is. Mako Shark. You go fishing for sharks. Now, we're not going to go fishing for Makos. They actually closed Mako in the Mid-Atlantic region and potentially beyond just recently, just in the last few days. But that's okay. Doesn't have to be a Mako Shark. I just picked this picture because it's so dang cool. This was like a 200-pounder we hooked up in the Washington. Ooh, I want to say it was 3 years ago. We managed to get it close enough to the boat to get some really awesome underwater shots. But let's go ahead to the next slide, Zach. Some very cool shark fishing adventures you can take include surf fishing. Hey, you might not catch them, 200 pounds, but you can catch some big fish. As I recall, this one here we caught while we were drum fishing, and it certainly spiced up the day. Surf fishing for sharks is really super, super easy. Basically, take any cut fish bait, put it out there, and wait. And there's a very good chance that you will be able to catch a shark or two. Now, I do want to mention when you're reeling in large sharks, let's say, I don't know, 50 pounds and up, you don't want to drag them on the beach for the picture. You want to keep them in the water. If you drag the shark up onto the beach, it can cause internal organ damage, which none of us want. So you want to keep it in the water. Obviously, get a pair of very long handled pliers so you don't get your hands near that shark's mouth. They are dangerous fish. And, take your picture and get the hook out with the fish in the wash. Now, if you have the boat, you're going to run out through the inlet. You can go to any of the sloughs, any of the shoals, 5, 7, 8 miles out of Ocean City, Virginia Beach, really anywhere up and down the Mid-Atlantic coast. Put those baits on the bottom, you're going to catch sharks. There's plenty of them out there. It's not a problem. Are you going to eat the sharks? Well, if it's legal, that's an individual decision. I do want to share with everybody that I've tried many. Atlantic sharpnose, spiny dogfish, smooth dogfish, and I really have found that, it's probably best just to let them go. That's funny timing for that, Zach. I don't know. I think
that was a mistake.
Okay, hold on to that thought. But for the sharks, the Atlantic sharpnose are legal to keep and eat. They taste like okay. Smooth dogfish, I actually think tastes the best out of all of them. Now, if you try and eat the spiny dogfish, you'll find that they taste exactly like pee. I am told that this is because those fish do not expel their waste through a bladder. They send it through their meat and out through their skin. And so naturally, the side effect is they taste like pee. So if I were you, I would not keep the spiny dogs. I would let them go. But the smooths don't taste like that. They're quite good. All right, let's go on to the next one, Zach, because we're going to talk about.
They're common for fish and chips in England, aren't they? It's huge over there, right?
I think you're right. I think I remember hearing that. The smooths are good. They're pretty tasty fish.
My friend down in Outer Banks eats them all the time. So
there you go. All right, slide us on to the next slide, and we're going to talk about why we're going to go shark fishing in the first place. Look at the smile on this boy's face. See how his hands are raised in the air? I'm telling you, at this moment, he was dancing. He was utterly giddy. Few fish will get kids as excited as a shark. So if you got youngins and you want to get them excited and see that big old smile on their face, man, just take them shark fishing. It really, whether you're keeping and eating the fish or not, they couldn't care less. It's just so exciting for them to catch a shark. You get a little one like this, you can hold it and control it. They can reach out and touch it, aft of the toothy part. And it really is just tremendously exciting for a lot of kids. All right, I think it's time for a new adventure, Zach.
All right, and just a reminder to everyone out there, if you have any questions or comments, put them up in the. We'll get to them when we can.
I'm glad you remembered to say that because I forgot to tell people to go ahead and post their questions in the comments. Zach will relay them. We'll get them on screen. Goodness gracious, I'm being negligent here. I apologize for that.
I missed this one earlier, but Matt Schultz had actually mentioned that he thought the Dakota would probably be a good black drum reel as well.
It'll be able to handle it. I can tell you that. The 35 pounds of drag. I mean, think about that for a second. That's an awful lot of drag. If you've ever held 20 pounds of drag, it feels like it's almost enough to yank you over the side of a boat. So I mean, there's going to be no problem in that department.
All right, here comes the next slide.
Oh, look at that. I was so excited when I took this selfie because I had just caught my first ever ribbon fish, also called cutlass fish. Now, this is a species that, it's one of the few that historically I just don't remember coming into, certainly not into Maryland waters, maybe at the mouth of the bay. But in recent years, these fish have been traveling all the way up to the Severn. Several were caught in the Severn last year. Do you remember how many, Zach?
I don't know.
But we were hearing about it. Remember?
I do. Yeah.
They were showing up. People were catching them all the way that far north. If you go as far down the bay as, say, the Chop Tank or the Patuxent, they've been in recent years in large enough numbers to target and catch a few. And the day that I caught this was in the lower Patuxent. I'm guessing here. I didn't keep exact track, but I'm going to say we caught like somewhere between 2.5 and 3 dozen. I mean, it's not like there was any shortage of these fish. There are plenty of them around. Terrifically interesting fish to catch. These guys do taste good. They do. When you fillet them out, you get this thin little fillet that you can roll into a pinwheel. And if you pick some crabs and make imperial and slather it out and then roll the pinwheel, you will be in heaven. Extremely good. Yep, Dave. Yep, absolutely. That's what I'm talking about, man. They are tasty. They are really good. So it's kind of amazing. And they don't have to be giants to do this. You get them, they're long. Maybe they're 25, 30 inches, maybe a pound. And you can slice that fillet right down the side. It's actually a really easy fillet job. And they're good. Oh, added bonus, they don't have scales. So you don't have to scale them. You don't have to skin them. You don't worry about any of that. You just roll it right up, skin it all. It's quite good, quite good. Now, when they fight, there's one oddity that you've got to be aware of. Ooh, roll them up with bacon. I like that idea, Robert. Man, I'm going to have to try that. You have to try that. One oddity you need to be aware of. These fish are super long and skinny, right? And unlike other fish, when they're hooked, it's not like they turn around and try and swim away. They actually swim backwards. They undulate their body and they swim backwards. So yeah, they're very hard fighters. It's really weird. But here's the tricky thing. The moment they stop kicking, they're so long and skinny, it feels like there's nothing there. There's absolutely no resistance. Now, as everybody I hope knows, the last thing in the world you ever want to let in your fishing line is slack. Well, when you feel that sudden absence of resistance, the natural thought is, oh, they got off, right? And you stop reeling. Well, then you let the line get slack, and then they might actually get off. Keep reeling. Just keep reeling when you think you've lost them. And literally like 3/4 of the time, you take a few cranks on the reel and then, oh, there he is again, right? Because they start kicking again. So it's really weird, but you got to be aware of this so that when you feel it, when you feel that the hook pull is what it feels like, you don't stop reeling. You got to keep reeling. All right, Zach, take me over to the next slide, please. By the way, since Eric chimed in with that comment, I should give him full credit. I didn't know what the heck I was doing when I went down there to catch these. He like totally, held my hand through it till I caught a few and got the hang of it a little bit. Yeah, lower Patuxent near Solomons, exactly. We were fishing within sight of Solomons. We were back in a creek that has a nice deep channel, about 20, I think it's 20 feet. I might be off on that. It might be 15 feet, something like that. Fairly deep water. And they were just socked in there. And we were on kayaks. It was a piece of cake. Really fun fishing. Oh, no. Oh, we got bit by one. Not good. Not good. We're going to take a look at their teeth in a minute. Go ahead to the next one.
I think we need to all chip in and get Eric Packard a manicure for his hands. They need some care. He's had a few run-ins lately.
You're not kidding, man. Was it Eric? You got to let us know. Was it the same hand that got the treble hook in it the other day? Oh, ouch! All right, so here's a great thing to cast for him. Right, this is what we were using. Kevin, okay, here we go, man. Nope, we never use bait. I'm sure some people do, but you do commonly hear more about artificials. And this paddle tail right here, this 3-inch, 4-inch paddle tail, pumpkin seed chartreuse, perfect for them, but. And there's a big but. And the next slide is going to show us exactly what it is, because when you're around these fish, you bring back a lot of this. I think I started with like 20 tails that day, and they were regular old paddle tails, and I brought back, that, like, man, just as often as I caught a fish. These are toothy critters. Zach, you can flip us over to the next slide at any moment here. There it is. Oh, Eric, I can't believe you got one of them in your finger, man. Ouch. Yeah, they're super toothy critters. They chomp right through plastics. If you're going to fish plastics, you really probably want to go with one of the tooth-proof plastics. Obviously your Elastec Z-Mans, something like that is a good move. Now, you can also catch them on plugs. You can catch them on spoons. They really hit a lot of different stuff. Oh, here we go. Robert, drone spoons work well. There you go. Yep. Now, interestingly, this particular day that these photos were taken, I tried casting a Castmaster, a gold and red Castmaster, which I thought was going to crush them. And it didn't. I got a few hits on it, but it didn't crush them. They wanted the paddle tails. They also took spinner baits, which I found really interesting. Small spinner baits a la perch pounder. They did very well. We were using silver blades, white spinner baits with little twister trailers, and half the time you had to constantly change the twister trailer because they'd nip the twister part off. But they did like those. They worked particularly well trolling back and forth along the pilings. Go ahead and take us to the next one if you would, Zach. Like I said, plugs will totally do it. All these things share one thing in common, and that's that you can get them down fairly deep. These fish are not surface feeders. Now, I'm no biologist, I'm no expert on this, but what I've been told is that they actually sit vertical. Is that no? That's vertical, horizontal. Horizontal? Is that horizontal, Zach?
That's vertical.
That's vertical. Gosh darn it! I always get it wrong. All right, they sit vertical with their tail down towards the bottom and feed up. So they're in fairly, 15, 20 feet of water, I'm calling fairly deep for this, conversation. And they're sitting down towards the bottom. So you do want something that'll get down a little bit because they're going to shoot up and attack that bait. And if you're all the way up near the surface, they may not see it. But any of these different types of lures that get down to that level, they're going to hit. I have a sneaky suspicion. I have not tried this. I'll report back to you on this, people. But I have a sneaky suspicion if you put a bull minnow on a hook, they would ravage the poor little guy. I can't imagine how they wouldn't, because clearly they are feeding on small fish. So Kevin, I have not tried bait for him, but I'm gonna have to give that a try. I gotta think a bull minnow is gonna be really good. Although, you know what? I'm not sure that would be better to use than a lure, because if you don't have wire on that hook, I'm thinking there's a really good chance they're just gonna bite you off time and again. They slice right through those lines. So very interesting adventure. Pretty cool stuff. Down in Virginia in the inlets, they catch the heck out of them. They do real well on them at night under the lights. Haven't tried under a bridge in our neck of the woods under the lights, but I'm certainly suspecting that might be an interesting way to go about it too. And then if you get outside the inlet, I've already seen, I think, just 2 or 3 pictures that have come in from the inshore reefs. Same areas guys fish for sea bass, fish for flounder. You catch these by accident on the same baits you fish for flounder, sea bass sometimes. The difference is the ones in the ocean do tend to be a lot bigger. They're like, way over 30 inches and, 5, 6, 8 pounds. So pretty cool stuff. Down south, they use these extensively as kingfish baits. They like to rig them with a treble hook trailer. And man, I'm saying they're missing out, because they are actually some tasty fish to take it. Oh, look, Zach, are you timing these comments with what I'm saying? It seems that way.
Yes, I am.
Oh, well, never mind
that. That was actually, he commented 7 minutes ago, and I was waiting for the right moment.
That's okay. Well, dang, man, good job. Yeah, they're classic king mackerel bait. King mackerel love them. They just slice them in half, turn around, then eat each half one at a time. Nice and easy for them to feed on. So real good king mackerel bait. But I like them. I think they're very tasty. What size, range, and color? So from what I've observed, we're talking pumpkin seed chartreuse. That was really hot, 3 inches and 4 inches. You can see from this photo, this is from Eric. You can see from this photo, he was using I'd call it a greenish whitish, maybe off color a little bit. The spinner baits, we were using white. White was effective. And so, I think you got a couple different choices there, but that 3 to 4 inch range is kind of, okay. And Eric's chiming in here, hard baits, beetle spins, and 4-inch paddle tail. So that's exactly the same stuff. I was talking about the beetle spin, perch pounder. I mean, you're basically talking about the same thing. Small spinner bait, right? Small spinner bait. I would pop in there that you do want to use one with enough weight to sink down a little bit. You don't want to, some of the smaller beetle spins will sit right up near the surface. So you want something that'll sink down a little bit.
What pound test leader would you recommend? Is 20 going to get by? You need to go up to 30.
So I want to hear Eric chime in on this. He mentioned he got bit off twice today. I got bit off at least that many times the time we were fishing. And I believe I was using 20-pound test fluoro. But Eric, please feel free to pop in on this and give us the word on the leader you use. Because I was going to say, I don't remember you getting bit off as much as I did, but I think you did. I think we both got bit off a few times. But, I found the 20 good. One of the things I liked about using the spinnerbait actually was that never got bit off. I guess it gives them a little more to chew on. And I'm going to guess a plug like the one in the picture here is not likely to get bit off. That's probably going to be okay. The paddle tails, they do snap them up. 15 pound. Okay. So that's even a little lighter than the 20. Interesting. Little wire trace in front probably is not going to hurt. I mean, it's, these guys got some serious teeth. I mean, I've always thoroughly respected like bluefish teeth. Like I've been hurt by bluefish before. They have sliced me open, and I think these guys have bluefish beat hands down. All right. Do we have any more cutlass fish questions, or should we go on? Oh, wait a minute. I like 20 pound. Okay. Well, that will happen, Eric.
And one last update from Eric. this was not the hand that took the treble hook. This was his right hand. So last week was the left hand. This week the right hand. So you need those hands, man.
But we're gonna see Eric walking around like this. He's probably, I don't have something to wrap around my hand. He probably looks. He's walking around like this. Oh man, he's taking some serious hand injuries from fish the last few days. Ouch. All right, let's get to another fishing.
Hey, before we move forward, while we get too far from adventure number one, Matt actually had reiterated something you said about sharks, and I just wanted to put that up there. Interesting fact,
Sharks urinate continuously. In fact, sharks don't pee as we know it at all. Their urine is actually absorbed by their flesh. There you go. Yep. And that's that's something I've heard before. I don't know why it is. Some like a Mako shark, a thresher shark, and the smooth dogfish. They all taste really good. Like you'd never know. But I'm telling you right now, you take home a spiny dogfish and eat it. Hey, that's what it tastes like. It's just you go, ooh, like been there, done that. Not going to do it again. And the sharp nose don't really taste like that per se, but they do taste kind of icky. Just my opinion. Some people might like them.
All right.
Now, our next adventure, we're going to be calling on the expertise of Zach here because jug fishing for catfish. See that jug, people? There's a catfish attached to the other end. So, Zach, you want to tell us exactly what's going on here?
Sure. When I come back in here. So
yeah, man.
So this is Eric Packard's grandson, Isaac, the Crappie Whisperer, as he's known, and excellent young angler. I was really impressed with the way Isaac handled the fish and just handled himself out in the water in the kayak. So, a couple years ago, I was reading through the DNR manual, and I saw that there was a section on jug fishing, and so I thought we'd give it a try. And this was actually just last weekend. So we headed down to the Potomac, and we put out about 10 jugs, all baited with menhaden, cut bunker, and about 6 to 8 feet on each. Weights varying from like an ounce to 2 ounces, and kind of, we had a good strong current moving with lots of wind as well. So the heavier weighted ones did better because it kept the baits down. We were using 6/0 to 8/0 circle hooks, and you just cast them out. You just lay them out really, and then you kind of just wait for them to start bobbing. It's like fishing with 10 bobbers. It's really effective. I think we caught over a dozen in just a few hours.
Do they bob or do they like swim away like the barrel in Jaws?
A little bit of both. Sometimes they just kind of bob up and down, and sometimes they just sort of take off. And the kids just loved it. I mean, they just had a blast. It was a great activity to do for kids, and it's very active. It really wasn't a dull moment. So, highly recommend it.
That sounds very cool. I wanted to join you guys on that trip so much, and I couldn't make it happen. But I can just picture seeing the jug just like take off and chasing after it in the kayak, and then hauling up that cat. And you were catching blue cats, correct?
Yeah, actually, I did this about first time was in 2019, 2018, something like that. And it was like, I don't think we caught a single blue cat. So this is very interesting. 11 out of 12 were blue cats this time. Eric pulled in one channel cat, and the rest were all blue cats.
And of course, that really ups your chances of winning a prize in the invasive species count.
Absolutely. So, we actually neglected to enter these fish, and we actually did release these fish that day because we didn't have an immediate plan to, so they were all about 20 inches or so, but yes, we should have entered them in the ccamd.org great invasives count. We probably could have won some cool prizes, but we have a lot of entries in there as well. So sorry, Dave.
There are a ton of prizes you can win. Last year I won a little zip clippers, with a CCA on them that I carry on my boat right now. I love those little things. You just zip them out, snip your line. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Or
like the boomerangs.
Boomer. That's right. They're just like those, but they say CCA Maryland on them.
Nice.
And they're, man, they give away a ton of prizes. All you got to do is take a picture of your invasive species on the ruler. You get entered once. If you keep it, I understand you guys didn't have a plan for them, but if you keep it and you gut it and open the stomach, take a picture so they can learn the stomach contents, you get entered a second time. So one fish, two chances to win. And there are much bigger prizes than what I won too. There's some very cool stuff. But bottom line, this would be a really fun way to go and haul up a bunch of blue cats, for that matter, channel cats or anything else. I'm bummed I missed it, but there are a few legalities to cover. You want to take us to the next slide? I chose that one in particular. So you can see on the jug, what's got to be on there, Zach? It's your DNR ID number?
Yep, it's basically just your license number. That does not change year to year, so that's pretty unique to you. So you can just get that off Compass or just right off your printed ID.
Is there another thing on there? Is that your name too, or?
No, that Eric just was specific. He wrote DNR ID, and then with the numeric 6-digit code that's unique to him. And then I have my 6-digit code on my jugs as well. And you can have 10 jugs per person. We just did 10 for 4 of us. We could have had 40 if we really wanted to.
Woo. Man, I don't know how you collect that many jugs.
Right.
And that looks like a pretty decent one. Isaac's hauling up there in that one, but go ahead and take us to the next slide. This would look to me like a bigger fish. He's pretty chunky.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brooks did a great job too. These guys are just they're in middle school, and they really did a great job.
Very nice. That is definitely a unique adventure, And I got to say, like I mentioned before, I'm bummed I missed this trip. But in all my years of fishing, this is something I've never done. And it's something I want to try because, just picture that jug toting along and chasing it in your kayak. Just how cool is that?
Absolutely. Well, I was thinking about doing it again, and I have a few lines thanks to some of our friends at the DNR. And there actually are some programs out there where if you're not interested in eating blue cats, so you can donate to feed sort of the needy. So that's very cool.
So now there are some other legalities about this, though, right? Isn't there a particular time frame?
Yes, jug fishing, you have to wait until July 1st. It has to be tidal waters of the Chesapeake. 10 jugs per person, and I think it does run through like February. So I think the intention is probably to avoid any migratory stripers or anything like that.
Right, but you say tidal waters of the Chesapeake. Could we run up the South River and do this?
I think so.
Nice. I got to give this a shot. This is killing me.
Yeah.
So are there questions flowing in on jug fishing? I can't believe no one's asking any jug fishing questions.
Yeah, actually, people are asking if you can jug fish the main bay, and I believe yes, you can. And there's certainly plenty of blue cats. We've got lots of reports of Sandy Point and the Magathie these days. The blue cats are just everywhere now. So, but make sure you just check the DNR website for the specific section with about 10 bullet points of. And we'll actually publish an article on Fish Talk Mag here in a few days. With a little video that Eric shot of our adventure. So be sure to check that out. That'll be on, the main page of Fish Talk, and also we'll promote that on Facebook as well.
Nice. Now, I imagine, obviously I have not gone and checked the legalities on this. I would do so prior to, but I imagine somewhere like the Susquehanna Flats, the Upper Bay, in like the Baltimore zone, some of these areas where there are just tons and tons of catfish these days, this might actually produce quite a catch.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Eric commented on the experience. He was very surprised at how easy it was to pull the fish in once they're hooked. They pull the jug for a while and stop. And it only have like 6 to 8 feet of line out, so it's not a whole lot to really reel in. You can use the jug sort of as a reel or just hand line it in. We were using 50 to 80-pound tests on the rig, so it's, easy on your hands. But yeah, I can't imagine getting like a 50-pounder though. That would be actually Brooks there actually had a break off, and it was kind of like
what?
Yeah, and I not really sure what happened there. He could have. No, we were fishing in Mallows Bay with a lot of wreckage. He could have just been snagged on something, but we were in deep water, So
No, that wasn't a snag. It was like a 58-pounder. Pretty sure.
I think it was.
Pretty sure. Yeah.
So Kevin asked if circle hooks are required, and I don't believe legally it is, but we did so because we believed that was the right thing to use. And of the dozen fish we caught, every single one was lip hooked. There was not a single. So, I mean, that's a testament to the effectiveness of circle hooks. Free floating bait, and the fish are just hooking right in the lip. And it was 12 out of 12. And yes, Fred is absolutely right. You cannot target striped bass or rockfish. So there are limitations on the fish species that you are actually allowed to target with jugs.
Now, Fred says we've used flow sticks at night. What's a flow stick?
I think he meant to say glow stick.
Oh, you're probably right.
That would be a ton of fun.
That would be. I can see that. You could open up the jug, slide in a glow stick, close it up, and you'd have like a big giant lighted jug bobber going there. That actually sounds. Yeah, oh my gosh, that sounds even better than doing it during the day.
Like the next trip. So yeah. Doug here has a question about the rig. So he's asking if letting the jugs drift or if we're using enough weight to hold bottom. So Doug, the first time I did it, there was really no wind, and it was not really slow moving current, and I just did bare circle hooks, and they were that was enough weight to keep them down in the water column. Last weekend it was pretty windy and the current was pretty strong, so my rigs with very little, I just had some split shot on them. They just were not working. Eric had 2 ounces on his, so no, it wasn't enough line out to hold it on bottom, but it was enough to keep it down, straight down in the water column, 6 to 8 feet down, and that's what did the trick. So when I added more weight on, my rigs started getting hit too, because they were moving pretty fast. I'd say like 10 minutes would they'd move a few hundred yards, and we would have to reset. So it was great to have a team of 4 and some young spry boys that could move real fast and grab them up for us. So yeah, great experience, tons of fun. But make sure to check your DNR manuals if you're going to head out and do it. There are some specific regulations in fish that you're allowed to target.
That's an adventure I hope to have one day. And I got to say, that's what fishing is all about, right? It's all about new adventures, catching stuff you never dreamed you'd catch, being surprised. That is kind of what it's all about. So how are we doing on questions? Have we hit all our questions, Zach? Well, I'm gonna invite people to feel free to chime in, but I want to talk about one other thing real quick. We still got a little bit of time here. And next week, I believe it's Thursday night, right? Next Thursday night, 7 o'clock. Is that right? I gotta go to my calendar. We have the next Chesapeake Perspectives. This is the link that popped up earlier. It wasn't an accident. It just leaked out of the computer right onto the screen, right? Because it is that darn important. The Chesapeake Perspective series is really an effort to try and help everybody out there get a better kind of handle on exactly what's going on with the rockfish. We got serious rockfish issues these days, people, right? We all know this. It's not news to anybody. Fisheries down. We got all kinds of problems. We got all kinds of cuts. What's going to happen next? We don't know. Last month, in the first installment of the Chesapeake Perspective, we discussed what happened with the moratorium. That was kind of a breaking point for rockfish, not just in Maryland or not just in the Chesapeake, but literally all up and down the coast. The entire population really had just been pummeled. And, it seemed to work. We got the fish back, but now we're seeing this incredible drop again. So next Thursday, the next installment, what we're going to talk about is the current state of the fishery, the bay, the forage issues. There are a lot of different things coming into play here, an awful lot of things. You know, a lot of people, there's kind of a knee-jerk reaction to point fingers and say, oh, it's catch and release that's the problem. Oh, it's commercial fishermen that's the problem. Oh, it's a lack of menhaden that's a problem. Oh, it's the water quality that's a problem. I'm not the scientist, but you know, common sense kind of dictates that it's probably, you know, some sort of combination of all of these things, and probably more things that we don't even understand or know about. You know, we know that every year the environmental conditions have a big impact on how successful the striper spawn is. And we've had a really dismal spawn the last 3 years in a row. It really, really bad. Not just below average, but like horrible. The Young of the Year index has just been dismal. And we need to figure out what's going on. We need to figure out how to get the powers that be behind us in trying to figure out what's going on. And the Chesapeake Perspective is trying to take a really in-depth look at these issues and get everybody on the same page. And one of the ways that we do this is we have a group of serious experts. Like you always hear me say, I'm not the scientist, you know, I live and breathe this stuff, but I'm not the scientist. We've got the scientists. Last time we had 3 very good panelists on board. Kevin's asking, who are the panelists for next week's discussion? I'm going to ask Zach if he can maybe pop to the email and check that. I know we got an email on that, and I can't talk and chew gum at the same time. I'll never open that email at the same time and not totally fumble. But Zach is much better at that than I am, so he'll look that up. We have heavy hitters, we do, and big players in the scientific community, players in the governmental side, the people who really, you know, are hip deep in this stuff. They don't just live it and breathe it; they study it all the time. Zach, just interrupt me when you get to that email. But you know, the whole concept here is to take it from start to finish. We started with a moratorium. Next Thursday, we're going to talk about the current status, and then in another month, we'll go into the future of the striper fishery. What does it hold? What can we do to affect it? You know, how can we improve it? How can we improve our allocation to it? As a recreational fishing community, we've been watching our allocation shrink, right? There are all kinds of fun little things they do with the numbers to make everything look equitable. But if you ask me, the recreational fishing community has been getting the short end of the stick, which I have a hard time fathoming because it affects so many more people and has such a big economic impact on the entire mid-Atlantic region. I mean, striper fishing is huge. There are tackle shops, gas stations, grocery stores, marinas, boat dealers. I mean, you name it. It just affects this wide range of folks. And yet still we get the short end of the stick. So anyway, we're going to talk about, you know, what can happen with a fishery in the future next month. This month, we're going to be talking about the current status. And it is critically important, in my humble opinion.
Excellent. So, our guests for next week are Allison Colden of Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We have Mike Wayne from the American Sport Fishing Association and Pat Gear from the VMRC.
Ooh, so that's, like I said, it's heavy hitters,
Yeah.
right?
So
CBF, ASA, and VMRC. And, you know, one of the interesting things about that, CBF covers the whole bay, right? They're Maryland and Virginia. VMRC is Virginia. ASA is national, right? The American Sport Fishing Association is a national group with its roots in the recreational fishing tackle community. It's the Association of Tackle Manufacturers. I think it's kind of telling that we have an ASA rep coming in, because the striper fishery, like I said, it's massive impact on the entire mid-Atlantic region. And honestly, it really goes beyond. It really goes into the New England, well into the New England region, all the way up. I mean, geez, just look at New York, Massachusetts, New Jersey. I would almost kind of consider mid-Atlantic, but still, you go farther and farther north, it is a big deal. It's just a big deal, people. It is. And are you tired of getting the short end of the stick, Zach?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a little tired of getting the short end of the stick. And are you tired of seeing things managed in a way that is probably not best for the fish themselves?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm feeling kind of tired about that too. You know what? I don't mind giving up allocation if it is going to the benefit of the stock and if it's really helping things. That's okay. We can live with that. But a lot of the stuff that goes on, I don't know, man, it kind of bothers me. So.
Yeah. Well, having a large collective voice for recreational anglers is really all we can do, right?
The bigger the voice, the better. And this is something that comes up time and again. People constantly complain, oh, there's too many people on the water. Oh, there's too many people on the water. Look, I'm old. When I was a little kid, I remember going out and seeing so many boats on a hot spot that it looked like there was an island there. There's nothing new about crowds at known hot spots on the Chesapeake Bay. There's absolutely nothing new about that. It is not worse today. Certainly not worse than it was when the moratorium was lifted. When the moratorium was lifted, if you went to Pools Island, you literally could walk from boat to boat to boat from Pools Island to Rock Hall. I mean, that wouldn't have been problematic. There were that many boats fishing there. And there will be other guys out there who will remember this. There were, hordes of people, hordes of them. I haven't seen a flock of boats like that since, well, the last time I ran all the way up to Hodges was kind of like that. But it's nothing new. It is not new. If you look at the license numbers from their peaks pre-recession to where they are today, they're really not very different. I forget the exact numbers. I'm not a numbers guy, but you can Google it and look up, the DNR license sales for boat stickers. They're really not very different. It just seems to everybody that way, because you have some days where you're alone and you have other days where you go somewhere and there are a bazillion people. But the fact of the matter is, the more people we have fishing, the more people we have who care about this, the stronger a voice the recreational community has. That's what gives ASA its ammunition. That's what gives CCA its ammunition. And just for the record, folks, I've said it time and time again. I'm getting hoarse here, people. If you haven't joined CCA, it's about time. They are the lonely sole voice for recreational anglers, specifically in the state of Maryland. They're the only ones left, right? In Virginia, you've got CCA Virginia. You've also got the Virginia Saltwater Fishing or Saltwater Sportsmen's Association. I'm blanking on which. But in any case, they do have a Saltwater Fishing Association along with CCA. In Maryland, we all know what happened here. Once upon a time we did. Thanks, Dave. Now we don't. So, your lone best proponent at the State House is CCA. And I deal with these people all the time. They're not, some folks think they're tree huggers or anti-fishing. They're 1,000% not that way. There's a little bit of a holdover reputation from a regime years back that maybe had a different way of doing things. It's not the way it is today. It's not the way it's been for years, actually. And I don't know. I'm going off on a diatribe. I apologize, but it drives me a little batty. So where are we at, Zach? Do we have any more questions to any of our fishing adventures or any other general fishing matters?
Actually, Tommy had a good question that I kind of related to a little bit, and that was about white perch. Bit off topic, but has anyone else noticed a very sparse perch run this summer? I'm working hard to catch them in the magazine. Well, I personally, I moved to Oyster Creek 2 years ago, and I go down to the creek every evening, and I just cast rattle traps, perch pounders, and catch a dozen perch. It's July, and I haven't caught a perch yet, and I've been down there 4 times. Explain that to me.
Yeah, this is not a new thing. So last year, I think, was the first time in my memory I could ever remember people complaining about having trouble finding white perch, particularly big white perch. Like some guys would find a dozen little ones, some guys would find none. Big white perch were hard to come by. This year seems a little bit worse. I mean, it's funny you said that, Zach. I've been perch fishing 3 times in the last month or so. I had a pretty decent white perch spring run, but since then, June, I think I went 3 times, and I caught 1 maybe 8-inch white perch. Period. I live right by Ramsey Lake. I have my crabbing skiff on Ramsey Lake, so I put out there all the time and do this. And they're just not in there. In fact, I have a friend who has a green light under his dock on Ramsey, which normally has somewhere between 1 and 5 dozen white perch milling through it every night after the sun goes down. They haven't been there. He said they were there for about a week earlier this year, and then they were gone. Now, a friend of mine, another neighbor who white perch fishes religiously, was having a very tough time, and then last week went to the West River instead of fishing the South, and they did well. They caught a bunch of perch. But Tommy, you're not alone. They have definitely become very spotty, not at all like normal, definitely not around in the numbers we're used to seeing, nor the sizes.
I think I'm going to head down there after this video. see what happens. I thought I was using the wrong rattle trap. I sometimes get these different colors that look good, and they just don't work. Nothing like the old faithful silver.
Silver blue, right? The blue back.
No, this was just all silver, because I had one that was
all silver,
golden blue with an orange belly. The one I was using was like white and green. It looked beautiful, and I just couldn't catch anything on it. So I don't know. This is a random question. Maybe you can help William here. He's looking for redhead duckgrass, the old seaweed. It was everywhere in the 60s. I do not know what he's referring to.
William, I have no clue. However, the grasses that were around in the 60s are long gone. I don't know the numbers, but, we have a fraction of the grasses today. And as I understand it, most of the grasses that come up are is it the eelgrass that dies off very quickly? It grows like crazy in the spring and then it dies off. There are not, we got a shadow of the grasses we once had. And as far as the redhead duckgrass, I'm not familiar with it, but you know what? That's not surprising, because I was born in the 60s, so I wouldn't have remembered that. But by the time I was heavy into the bay, 70s, 80s, the grasses have been a footnote in the history of the glory of the Chesapeake, frankly. We have some years that are better than others, but it's not pretty. And on that awesome upbeat note,
well, just to recap here, why don't we just want to remind everybody that we've been talking about the Chesapeake Perspective, past, present, future. You go to this link, you can sign up, you'll get notified. You can go to our YouTube channel, you can watch episode 1, catch up on the past, and so you're prepared for the present next week.
Thank you for that, Zach. I forgot to mention, last month's is on YouTube. You can go see it on the Fish Talk YouTube channel anytime. And if you click on the link and sign up, just pop in your email. And then all that means is we'll send you an email to remind you before it goes live, right?
Absolutely. So, yeah. And I also wanted to we had a lot of questions about the jug fishing. Lots of different comments. So I just wanted to bring that up and let everyone, it's right there on the DNR. Tidal tributaries of the bay, July 1st to February 28th, must be attended between sunrise sunset and sunrise. So if you are using the glow sticks, make sure you're not just. It's not like freshwater trout lining. You got to be manning it, your jugs just like their rods. 10 jugs with no more hooks per line. DNR ID number. And this was the important one. You can't use it to target largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, striped bass, shark species. So don't mix up adventure number 1 and adventure number 3. if you're scanning through this video later on fast. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. And snapping turtles. I have tons of snapping turtles in my creek. I get 3 of them. I've had 3 of them terrorizing me while I'm trout lining for crabs. And so I could definitely see if I jug fished in my creek, I'd probably pull up some massive.
Wait, why do you mention snapping turtles? I couldn't read that. What did it say about snapping turtles?
You can't target snapping turtles.
Oh, I should hope not. not while fishing. Although I always have been curious about how snapping turtles taste.
I've heard turtle soup is good.
I've heard that too. I've heard you have to like soak them in your bathtub for a week first. And that right there was enough for me. I was like, yeah, well, okay. Probably never have snapping turtle.
Gotcha. Well, again, thank you to Shimano. And thanks for everyone tuning in tonight. Lenny, let's get one more look at that Dakota. Come on, let me see that thing again. And you picked up that.
You know, what you said
that up at All Tackle, right?
I ran up to All Tackle to grab this one to show off, and they do have others in the case. They're not easy to find right now. Supply chain and all that garbage. They're kind of hard to come by, but All Tackle's got them right now. They're in the case. And I forgot to say something about them. Real quick. I forgot to say, unlike, it's got this nice big star. Unlike most, when you're reeling, you can actually reach it. So you can actually adjust the star drag without taking your hand off the lever. I can't believe I forgot to mention that because I thought that was pretty darn cool. Isn't that nice?
Awesome. All right, so this is a new time, 6 o'clock. So if anyone has any feedback, we'd love to hear your feedback on the new time, 6 to 7 o'clock. Give some people time to get home from work and relax and tune in. So this is working for everybody. Let us know. All right. Well, we'll see you next month, the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. in August.
But hopefully we'll see you next week.
Oh, and
from the Chesapeake perspective.
Next week, 7 p.m.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Zach.
See ya.